I'm aware that this stone is going to gain quite a bit of notoriety because it really is probably the most interesting stone on Earth at the moment.
And he said, "Let me tell you a story about a stone."
How he came to learn of its existence.
He found it in combination with his pendulum and his dowsing rods.
He'd put it in a tree, in a willow tree, and it had fallen back into the pond.
Triggered a kind of questioning about what this stone was really about.
But it felt kind of exciting, the prospect of searching for this stone.
It's a fantastic story, probably one of the greatest stories of my life, finding this stone. I was living about 10 miles from here by this medieval manor house in Foddington, and the fields around there were ridge and furrow, very medieval. And I was told by a deadhead hippie, my friend Michael from California, he's psychic, he said there was something in the pond. The pond had dried up, so I immediately got my dowsing rods and had a look in the pond, and lo and behold, my dowsing rods gave me a very clear signal that in the very deepest part of the pond, my rods crossed. And through a little letter chart, so the pendulum spelt out gemstone. And it wasn't until after I found the stone that I realised that a gemstone is technically a carved stone, and this is a carved stone, but a big one. I had permission from the lady of the manor. In September 2013, I started my little dig. The peat came out really beautifully, this completely consistent layer of blackness. But then after about 18 inches, it got a little bit more clayey. And I dug down 5 feet, and my spade made a delicious thud, and I pulled out a hexagonal stone. And I went and got Lady V, and she was not impressed in the slightest. She just thought it was a rock. But it was definitely a very, very ancient artefact. I believe it gave me some highly advanced mathematics. The cube seal is beautiful advanced mathematics. You know, the ancients knew how to program stones, and they programmed it, and I managed to just download a bit of the program. But I know there's a lot more programmed in it. I wouldn't dream of giving it to the authorities. I hid it in a willow tree, a couple of feet above this shimmering water, and the sunlight would catch it, but I knew no one would be looking for it, and I knew it was safe there. So then along comes time for me to fetch it, to put it in the museum. It took me about 4 years to build this place, and it was a building site for a lot of the time. I wanted to bring it into a calm environment where its throne would be waiting. And I'm hoping to retrieve it today with the assistance of 3 maidens. We have to walk 10 miles across country to submerge myself in this pond, but this is a pilgrimage and the time is right. It's Easter Sunday, 2024. If I'm not going to get it now, I never will.
And he told me all this over a cup of tea. I said, "Gosh, where's the stone?" And he said, "Well, it's fallen back in the pond."
It had fallen into the water. The willow tree, the beautiful old dragon willow tree in which the stone was placed, had collapsed into the water.
It wasn't until I arrived that I realised that we were going to go and discover the Foddington stone's whereabouts, and Michael was going to hopefully recover it from where it had lain.
Michael always had this idea to get the Foddington stone as the main attraction of the museum.
And I've got the support of these 3 maidens in which I can show off my manliness by getting in the pond.
And we walked and talked and walked and talked.
Marguerite had these little ballet slippers. She did such a good job, really.
It was all a bit wet. We had to go to a river to be able to cross over the path. That felt like a real pilgrimage.
It was meant to be about a 3-hour walk. I think it took us over 6 hours, but we were stopping in pubs and things.
Yeah, I visited a couple of interesting little stops along the way. Arrived at the location of where the stone had lain for many years.
And now we're going to go and complete our quest.
We reached Foddington, and Michael suddenly looked rather sheepish about getting into that water.
The water was a little deeper than Michael had anticipated.
Darkening storm clouds accompanied by rumbles of thunder and very distant flashes of lightning.
And I was sort of surprised because I thought Michael was going to go for it, but I felt like maybe he wasn't quite ready for the stone yet.
I hadn't checked how deep the water was, but I thought, folks, we're going to have to postpone this. I feel like the stone is happy sleeping.
But I don't think it was just because of the weather. It was a timing thing.
I think he was worried about how the maidens would react to him.
Disappointment with a very small d.
And everyone called me a coward, and it was like, cop out, you're useless, Tyack. I tried to get it, but there was brambles, and it was like, oh no, you know, another day. Well, here we are again, towards the end of the summer. The pond should have dried out a bit by now. The water level should be significantly lower. This is the best time of year to retrieve the stone, and it's almost 11 years to the day since I found it. So we're setting off again towards Foddington. Foddington! With 3 maidens and madness running through my head.
Out of the town he goes, out of the town he goes.
So this time we had a slightly different group. The lovely Marianne, which was perhaps Michael's good luck charm and motivating force.
So obviously I wanted Michael to find the stone. Felt like I was on a medieval quest.
It was the 9th of the 9th, 2024.
And we went a slightly different route.
The further we walked, the more I started to feel the land and feel the significance of what pilgrimage would have been.
And Michael brought a wetsuit.
And this wetsuit would also protect me against brambles and things. We set off a little more briskly this time, without the stops at pubs, and got there in quite good time.
And we thought, you know, it was going to be hours or something.
I did have a little bit of a doubt when we got there. How on earth is he going to find the stone in the pond, and what if the stone has sunk down into the mud?
Wading in the water, looking over and seeing the maidens, feeling it with the staff, and then thinking, I found it.
Out he comes, the hero.
Oh, it was so nice. And then lifting it through the water.
Just like a wave of joy just go through my body.
Michael did valiantly birth the stone from the womb of the pond.
He was just so proud, just born this baby.
You know, the ecstasy began to flow. It had turned black, almost like oil.
Almost like obsidian.
Like a baby seal.
Well, dragging the stone out of the pond felt almost like a love affair or something, where I really felt like I was meeting an old friend again.
But that was only halfway. The closer we got to Glastonbury, the heavier it got.
Through the night, just became more delirious.
Got it back at 5 to midnight on the 9th of the 9th.
Yeah. Mission accomplished. Well, what is the Foddington stone? Where did it come from? Is it from Earth? Was it dropped from the sky?
I don't know where it comes from or why it was in the pond.
There's a story inside of this stone, and it's ancient.
It does feel like it sort of shapeshifts the symbols.
It seems to have markings like it's had things burned on it. Could be a font, a sort of shallow font.
It's been around for a long time. It's a record keeper.
Synchronicities in the future will tell us more information about the stone and about its history.
This Foddington stone is made of blue lias, which is the local stone to this area of Somerset.
The stone does indeed embody very significant energy.
Of amazing energy.
A really strong energy.
A powerful frequency.
And this could be really advanced medicine. It is a healing stone. First kind of experience we had of this was carrying it back 10 miles. This is a weighty stone. Will had it on his back most of the way.
My back was like fused into one piece.
And then in the morning he woke up and he felt fit as a fiddle. And I felt great the next day. This shouldn't have been the case.
I jumped out of bed and my back felt great.
That could have been a bit of healing from the stone. And then this group of 13 alchemists that came round here. One of those ladies, she was holding the stone and she suddenly felt a pain in her abdomen. And then the leader of the group said, "You've just had cellular healing on your spleen." So this all sounds very good. And I believe it. I had a couple of psychic people, and they both said that this stone had been dropped by a UFO and that there were others.
What its future is hard to ascertain, but it feels like quite powerful and magnetic.
It's now, found a new home, and who knows what magic the stone is going to bring.
The museum is complete, like the battery's installed.
A lot of people from all over the world have actually visited the stone here in the museum.
This is just the beginning, so we will find out more.
And I hope that it's giving more kind of lost vibrational information beyond mind and matter to those who encounter it.
Our human self couldn't possibly comprehend the reverberations it is having out onto the world around us.
It's all pretty far out, but this is what we're dealing with, so like it or lump it.